Heyo. Can you hear me? We all good there? Hello! Why, hello! Shona legs chairing. Man, what a week. Holy cow. How you guys doing? You okay? Hello. Hello, Mr. Skippern. Hello, Solar Winds. Hello, Travel Yan. Dangler Spank. Akuhak. Ziana. Sounds like I'm speaking some new cryptic language. Old Monkey Bones. Psycho Jane. Sam Rabbit. Flacco Weasel. It's like just by saying all your names, it's like a portal to the next dimension opens up. Right? Dangler Spank, Travel Yan, Shauna Legs Cherry, Skipper Note Solar Wings, Aku Hack Ziana, Old Monkey Bones, Psycho Joan, Sam Rabbit, Flacco Weasel, Joey Badiv, Born in Winter, Travel Yan. New song idea? Perhaps. So I just figured I'd come on, say hey for a bit before I got back to work. I've spent the last few days rewiring the studio here because everything, you know how sometimes you get everything into a mode where it's functional, but it's frustrating because like in order to get all the musicians learning the material for records and shows and everything, tend to do it is I've got all these old hard drives that are full of records like Epicloud or Transcendence or Deconstruction or Key or anything. And so if I'm asked to recreate a song and a musician has to learn a part, what it requires is for me to identify on which hard drive the session exists and then find the session and then extract that and export it and then send it out, right? Which is in and of itself pretty simple. But my sorry, I just read and I'll read in a moment, but I was on a thought. My file management is particularly convoluted because when I'm working, I like to work really fast. And so my file management stays neat and tidy and articulate up until the very end of a mix. And then I'm just like, fuck it, like just get it out. So I typically, when I have to send these files out, I want to be able to have like a USB hub right here that I could take all those old hard drives and have like all the cables sticking out. And I could say, I'll try this one. No, try this one. Yes. And then find the files and go. But up to this point, what I've had to do is I've had to take from behind the computer. I've had to be behind there and like try and find the right cables and try and find the right power. And although it works, it's like so frustrating. So for the past couple of days, knowing the amount of work coming up to finish light work mix and to get everything ready for live, I set up a USB hub. I put the Oratone on a little stand as opposed to out of reach. And I put my volume here now, like right underneath the desk, as opposed to way over there where it used to be. And I moved it so that the Ableton Push is here and the Avid Mix is here. This, I drilled a hole here, so this, just little things like that has been what I've spent the last couple of days doing. So when we're finished with our Twitch stream together here, then I can start to work again. And hopefully I have solved the litany of things that has been bothering me for the past couple of weeks, couple of months in a new space, right? Like as I've mentioned before, I still have to do the pine behind me on this gyprock. I've just kind of put some sound boards up on the back just to kind of keep it reasonably, balanced in here. But the process of just getting everything done while mixing, I'm not great at multitasking. So what I tend to do is say, okay, these days I'm doing laundry. These days I'm doing cable management. These days I'm moving that hub, whatever it is. So now I'm ready to mix, or continue mixing at least. Let me look at some of your questions here. It's not a question, it just says hello, and I respond, hello. Thank you for your streams. The Infinity stream only increased my appreciation for that album. Thank you. Yeah, well, it's funny you talk about Soul Driven, not knowing it had so many words. It's funny. Also, I keep saying it's funny, but it is funny. When I did the Infinity stream a couple of weeks back, my family, people online, they're like, "Dev, you look so fucking tired, man." And I had all the underlighting, which didn't help. But the truth of it is, I was so fucking tired. So you weren't wrong. Someone says, "I like your hat." Yeah, I got it in Camden years ago. Hey, it's that old guy who sometimes plays music. Yes, that is me. And it's so funny how, as you get older, it just sneaks up on you. And I remember when I first started touring, like with Vi and all these things, I was the youngest guy on the crew. Like, I was 18 years old. To me, it seems absurd now. Like, the 18-year-olds that I know in my life, I'm just thinking, I wouldn't want to be on tour with them. But I was the youngest person on the whole crew and then I was like second youngest, and then third youngest, and now typically I'm one of the oldest, and it sneaks up on you so quick. Someone says, "Hey Dev, do a flip." All right. I think that peanut butter granola bar that I ate recently has disagreed with my cognitive abilities, because the fat in it has made me slower mentally than I anticipated. So because I can't do a backflip, I figured I'd do a conversational flip. Any plans to release Ocean Machine or Infinity Lives for download or physical media? Yeah. But my prime objective right now is to make light work as kick-ass as I know it can be. So just to explain, I mixed it, as I'm sure some of you remember, over the holidays. Like, I was mixing it November, October, December. But it was so much was going on in my life. It's just so much was happening in my life that I was just so exhausted. And so at the end, I delivered the mix to Howie Weinberg, who was mastering it. And when he sent the master back, I remember listening to it. I went for a drive and I was like, oh, this is totally wrong. I'm exhausted. It sounds exhausted to me. So I called up the label and I called up the management and I said, it's too important for me to just hand it in now. And they're like, well, you have to pay for the mastering. I was like, I get it. We'll pay for the mastering, but it's not ready. And so I've spent since Christmas getting my shit back together on a personal level, so I can, not even on a personal level, because it's not like my shit was apart. It's just my life was, as I'm sure lots of yours it was so intense that I just didn't have any time and I was super fatigued. So now I've kind of got everything in order. I got my USB hub, all these little things that compound to the point where those little things turn into big things, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm super disorganized. And so I've solved that, and now I'm mixing again. And during Infinity, I was still really tired, so thank you. Someone says, can't wait for light work, nor can I. Thank you for the good music. You're welcome. Let's see. I don't want to bother you with this, but any more news on the puzzle box set? I reached out on multiple occasions. Last time they were waiting on the cardboard boxes. I received mine yesterday. So I would say, because I've known that there were people that got theirs a month or two ago, but I haven't got mine. So it finally arrived yesterday. So I would say give it just another week. And then if not, reach out to me on Twitter, and then I will try and track it down for you. Could you make a patch on the Boss GT 1000 just for me? Everyone seems like the Helix these days, and the patch you've done on that is very nice. The Tusco Show used to be a PB YouTube channel, which was released again, or am I blind? Yeah, I don't have a Boss GT 1000, I'm afraid. But I can give you an insight. Maybe that's a way that I can help you with that. So on your Boss, and I'm not aware of the architecture, but I'm sure they're all kind of similar. You go into a tube screamer of some variety, green screamer or whatever they call it on that platform. you have the overdrive set to 0, you have the output set to maximum, and you have the tone set to middle. And that's your clean boost. Then from there, you can either go into a 5150 or a dual rectifier or a diesel Herbert or one of those sort of high gain amps, but keep the gain reasonably low so that the clean boost is what actually pushes it into the gain. And that does something where it compresses the low end in a way that I think is really, really cool, right? I use maybe mid around 11 o'clock on the dial. Bass maybe about the same, maybe a little less. Maybe the treble at about 1 o'clock and the presence in and around 1 o'clock. From there, the cabs that I tend to use, I use a 412, and you'd probably have some success with like an oversized Mesa type cab. But the thing that I think is really important about the cab is that you don't have a significant amount of room sound, so it's like a really direct, whether or not it's 57, 421. And then for the effects, what I would do is I'd run a parallel path, if possible. If not, you can run it in line. First thing you run into is a ping pong delay, and I would set it so that there is a low roll-off, so that anything underneath like maybe 100 hertz is gone. And I set it to maybe 300, 500. I don't know if you can do that on a ping pong, but you can on a dual delay. Set 1 to 300, 1 to 500. Actually, no, that's for vocal. For guitar, just do a ping pong, maybe set to about 400 milliseconds. Make the repeat on it maybe 72%. And then from there, I can keep that delay to taste, but I would say maybe 20% mix. And then from there, run it into a reverb, a hall reverb that is 10 seconds, believe it or not, that has also a low pass roll off, maybe 8 seconds. And then put that at about 10%, 6%. There you go. All right, next. Someone says, okay, I'm back. What did I miss? That's Violet. You didn't miss anything. You missed me talking shit, which is in line with everything. All right. Good day from Australia. Good day from Vancouver. Are the two shows in London different? Yes, they're entirely different. So that has resulted in me having... So in order to go back on tour again, which, as I'm sure many of you would be at least topically aware, to be a musician in 2022 without touring is pretty crazy, right? Not that I am a huge fan of it, but it's like that's where the business is. Like, in order to sustain the ability to do what you do, you need to tour. But so many venues closed down. Every band in the world's out. So I was talking to a buddy who works with Anthrax, and Anthrax are trying to get on tour in America, but they can't find a bus. Like, there's no buses available because everybody's on tour. So with the Royal Albert shows, the way that we could do that is they said you can tour if you have an entirely British band and crew for this first leg. Because with the Brexit costs, it's easier to work in the UK and then take British into Europe versus the opposite. This is what I had heard, right? So I may be wrong, I don't know. But that's what I heard. So with the Royal Albert shows, and to try and make this like that's not only a spectacle, but like an overview of the career and all these things that I've done and all these songs that I've wanted to play live, it requires teaching a whole bunch of musicians like 50 songs. So currently, the USB hub I was talking about is required because I'm finding all these songs and I'm showing it to everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I've never played Life is All Dynamics live. I've never played all sorts of things live that I want to play. I've never played New Black, like things like that. So trying to find those records and those stems and sending it and getting it to people has been a big thing, and that's for the Royal Albert shows. Yeah. Speaking of 5150s, do you like the earlier PVs or the newer EVH line? The early PVs were super groovy because they were so different at the time. They had that really kind of like sandpapery high end and robust low end, and they were really squishy, right? Like, you remember, for those of you who are long in the tooth like me, when Machine Head released their first record, Burn My Eyes, it was like, that sound was like the 5150 at the time. That's the one. And Carcass, Heartwork, those were, and it was really a cool sound. And a lot of those folks use that clean boost that I talked about earlier. And so I used a 5150 for a long time, and it was really great, really super cool. But then I found that I preferred a dual rectifier with a tube screamer in front of it and EL34s. Like, that was really cool, and I preferred that to the 5150. But then when they release the new 5150s, they're somewhere in between, actually, and I like them. But I've been on digital for so long that it's like, Someone says, making a spectacle of yourself, eh? That is my whole trip, my friend. Someone says, sounds like a lot of work. What, making a spectacle of Spectacle of myself? Yes, it is a lot of work, but it comes naturally. Greetings from Greece. You are the bestest, my friend. Someone says, bonjour, Ziltoid. Dev, you back on the coffee? Or are you still a Genmatcha boy? Oh, I figure both, man. I just mix them together. Make a coffee Genmatcha smoothie. No, I have, I go off and on coffee and have for most of my adult life. But usually I have a cup of coffee in the morning and then tea during the day. I can't really do more than a cup of coffee. Sometimes I can maybe have 2 cups of coffee when I really want to party, but usually it's not. Greetings from Mexico. How about neural DSP stuff? Yes. Do you like it? Yes. So I've got the quad cortex there, and it's really a cool unit. The only problem with it is it's got a proprietary power supply that I've lost fucking twice. So I want to get deeper into it, but I keep losing the power supply. So that's the thing. But I've been working pretty intensively with Neural DSP, and I, for the past 2 years, have been working on them about our plugin, which is going to have all the sounds like the Ocean Machine and Ziltoid and Key, Ghost, my ambient sounds. It's all in that package, and we've been working on that for a while, and it's going to be awesome, but I don't want to rush it, so, and neither do they. So we've been doing it slowly but articulately. They've got the GP100 there. It's going to be great. Love both Snuggles and Puzzle. Snuggles is my go-to album on the yoga mat. Any news on a scheduled concert in May in Stockholm? If it's scheduled and it says so on the website, my intention is to be there. So if it doesn't happen, it's not due to me. That's what I can say about it. But as I'm sure also some of you can imagine, this last 2 some odd years of the profound amounts of life shifts that has happened for all of us, depending on no matter what side of the fence you are or are not. It's like we're all affected by it. And the amount of time we've been at home has also changed dramatically a lot of our psychologies. And to me, I've been very active during it for a number of reasons, but it's also because I love it. Like, really, that's what it comes down to. I love my work. It's like my thing. But now it's like going back on tour. You have to psychologically prepare yourself from this insular lifestyle. The best example being, I know I was going to speak to you, so thank you for being here. So I put on a jacket, but I'm still in my jammies, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, and that's been the case for so many years now, that just getting out of the jammies is a psychological shift. But I've really been working to get myself mentally and physically in shape so that when we are out on the tour, the best I can do is be prepared. And so that's what I'm doing. Someone said, okay, I got to pause this chat here, and I forgot how to do that. So slow mode, is that what you do? No, I don't. That's for somebody else. Okay, so I stop that, and then I go, chat, every time. Chat, pause, do to scroll. There we go. Someone says, hey, Devin, hey, chat, how is everyone? Hello, chat. All right. Greetings, Devin. Looking forward to your show in Trondheim. What plans do you have for the DT and DT tour? It's in the process of being thought out, because I love to be able to focus my attentions on one thing at a time, because then I can say, okay, tour. What's this tour going to be? What's my intention? What are we going to present to people? How's it going to look? Who's going to play? What's the show is going to be? What sort of material are we going to bring to the table? And if that was all I was thinking about, that would be delightful. But, life, parents and siblings and, everything is always exploding. So there's a part that a party that is like drawn in two directions. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna think about, okay, I got to deal with this. Oh, I'm gonna think of, oh, I got to deal with this. There's been a lot of that lately. So that in itself makes it difficult for me to focus strictly on the live shows. But also, before the tour leaves, I have to have light work mixed, and the mix is so important for me to get it right, just to nail it, that I'm like drawn in a couple of directions. So solution oriented as I am, my solution is like, okay, so you have until March 1st to deliver to the musicians at these various stages of live performance all the material. So that means I have to go through all the tracks by March 1st, get the set list, get all the click tracks, get everything done that needs to get done so they can rehearse independent of me. As of March 1st, that will no longer be on my plate. And from March 1st to April 1st, I can finalize the mix, not the master, of Lightwork. And then during that time, I can get my health regimen in a way that will allow me to be physically ready to sing in the ways that it takes. And it's not like I'm not ready for it, but it helps if you up your cardio. Like if you keep working on like gassing yourself for whatever reason, right? Like or for whatever, in whichever way. Just like, so if your lung capacity can get more and more and more and more, so by the time you're on tour, your lung capacity is where it needs to be. So that's at 4 o'clock every day. Like I do that, right? So the live shows, what their content is going to be will be determined within the next week. As psychotic as that sounds, I've got a lot of friends who think that the way that I compartmentalize my thinking is just an indicator of some sort of psychosis. But more so than that, I'm prone to becoming obsessive, and it's really difficult for me to pull myself away from something. So if I can strategically set up my life so it's like, okay, so this is when you do this is when you do this, it's like training wheels for my dumb brain, right? So if we talk next Twitch, I'll know much better. There's my long story long. Come back to the US. I can't get to London. I'll be coming back to the US, absolutely. When they've talked about August and September, but that has been problematic because of, like I had mentioned earlier, with trying to find tour buses in the States. The amount of bands that are out in the States right now and are continuing to be out in the States right now means that even getting into the venues right now is seemingly really difficult, but it's certainly being planned. So I hope to see you soon. All right. Someone says, I've gone full hermit. You're not alone, man. There's a lot of people who've gone full hermit. And I haven't had the opportunity, not that I would have taken it necessarily. Oh, no, who am I talking? I'm full of shit. Of course I would have taken it. But in order to make sure that I can continue to do what it is that I love to do, which is create crazy shit without having to bend to anybody's expectations, without having to, do a jingle for Nike or something, not that it's an option, but just so I can keep making, like when I got Puzzle yesterday, I'm going to do a unboxing video later today after I finish the Twitch here. It's fucking awesome. Like the whole thing is awesome. And I realize I've been so busy, I haven't explained why the box set is the way that it is. In fact, I'm going to go get it. Hang on a second. Don't look at my pajamas. So check it out. I just got this. I opened it up last night. So here it is. It's like very heavy. You've got all these sort of digital looking mountains, but it's like sort of a flat black with the printing is gloss. So because you're here, I'm going to explain what this project was all about And if it bores you, then you should probably know that I'm going to do it now because it's going to take 5-10 minutes. So what was the puzzle? The puzzle is supposed to be a metaphor for the psychological process of making a decision. Any decision. And so that sounds on the surface as it's a very simple concept, but what was really important for me to make a statement about during a pandemic is that every decision that we make is unconsciously informed by every other experience that we've had in our life. For a very basic example, and I've used this before, if you got bit by a dog when you were a kid, then chances are, if it scarred you or traumatized you, you will probably unconsciously avoid things that are like that, like the dog. Or if there is any other, it's just an example, right? And so our lives end up being this construct of unconscious motivations that allow us to architect a life based on something that is not real in a sense. Like those fears are unfounded. They're just based in trauma. So the puzzle is like, well, how do you solve that? How do you get past the fear of your own limitations, your own thoughts? And with the whole pandemic, everybody's at home. Everybody's gone full hermit. So what I did was I've got a guitar and I just play ambient music. I've been doing that for years, right? And I recorded it and then I put it in and I structured it into a way that became like a narrative. And then the whole concept of having 50 people participate in it musically is not because it was meant to be some staggering musical statement. The music is an afterthought to the process of having a bunch of people at home during a pandemic do whatever they wanted to my stream of conscious. So the chaos that comes out of it, you'll hear people talking in Chinese and Swedish and Finnish and Spanish and Indian, and there's people from all these countries that were involved with it, and there were people from the gear companies I work with, like from Waves or from Fractal or PV or and they're all on it. And so it's not the music; it was the idea of all these people participating in the chaos of that year. So when you take this box, all these mountains here on the side are there in the film. What they were these abstract paintings that Travis Smith had done, and then we turned them into landscapes, which is why they're now mountains on the side of this, right? And then those landscapes, every time in the film when it goes to that scene, it's supposed to be the character, even though it's me playing it in the film. It doesn't matter. I was the available actor, right? But anytime he has to make a decision, should I look at my phone again? Should I leave the apartment, which was like the crux of it? It goes inside. And so every time he has to do it, there's an unconscious process that carries through years of bias and trauma. So at the end, when he says yes or no, it's not as simple as yes and no. It's yes, blah, 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 all this shit that happened, dog bit, blah, blah, all this sort of stuff. So the puzzle box, when you open it up, this is fucking rad. So when you open it up, it starts with, so the movie starts playing. And so the whole thing plays, like the whole movie plays there. And then when you lift this up, so the first thing that I got to point out is Mark Leary, who did the graphic novel. When I was talking to him about the graphic novel, the whole concept was that way from the beginning. So one of the points of this concept is that everybody's puzzle is unique. Everybody's life is done its trip in ways that we're unconscious of. So each one is signed, right? There's and then the graphic novel, the work that he put into this graphic novel is insane. And it's the same story. So basically in his puzzle, the protagonist, the decision he's trying to make is, for breakfast, should I have more coffee? And with my coffee, should I have another cookie? So it goes through all this and his whole life and death and sex and brutality and parents and all this shit. And at the end, yes, you should have another cookie. So it's like, Devin Townsend, cookie. So in the film, anytime it goes to these kind of dream worlds, it's not meant to be like abstract. It's meant to be a representation of the character making super rudimentary decisions, right? Like, and that the whole point of it at the end, when the character leaves the apartment, that's the analogy, is that after all the fear and all the I can't do this and I'm not good enough, he faces the fear and he does it. And then on the other side of that fear was like Snuggles, right? So when you open this up, you'll see a couple things. You see the 2 USB sticks and then these 4 characters and then the guy in the middle. So on the USB sticks, on the puzzle one is the puzzle 5.1, 4 different versions of the album, stems so you can mix the album, and the film. And then Snuggles, same thing, 4 different versions of Snuggles through all the different variations of it. So I gotta stop this thing from making noise, but I have to stop it from making noise, guys. I think you cover it. Yeah. So in there, we've got 4 little characters. And stop, you stop now. And this one guy. So this guy, right, is meant to represent, and I know this is super hippie shit, but you know, like, dude, I was stuck at home for 2 years. And everybody in my life's going fucking crazy. So it seemed to make sense to me, right? He's supposed to represent the scared inner child. That's just like, I can't do it. Everything is terrifying. Everything is terrifying. And on the back of him, he's actually, you can clean your iPhone with it. It's or your iPhone, your phone. It's like, it's a microfiber, right? But this little guy, Flacco, is the character that's supposed to represent, you know, the fear, like, of all these things of the childhood. And these other characters are supposed to represent parts of the mind that are protecting him or her or they. So this guy is the protagonist, and it's supposed to be neutral because it doesn't matter who it is. It's like, it's just the person, right? The entity. This guy is meant to represent the ego. He's meant to represent, he's the thug, right? So he's meant to represent just the, you know, the brutality, just the basics of it all. This one was originally, it's like meant to be guilt, right? It's like always in shame. And then this big tall one, which you see at the end, stomps them all down, is the mediator. It's the ability to make a decision. But if you see in the box set, they're all protecting this character, right? And so when you look at the graphic novel, when you look at all this stuff, it was much less about the music. It was really about the experience of the pandemic and the people in my life and the chaos of it. So people are saying, oh, you know, it's not even songs, it's just chaos. I'm like, well, no shit. Of course, it's chaos. That's what it was. Like, that's what it was, man. Like, that's it. And so this box set here, I was talking to some friends of mine. Oh, and this comes with a charger too, so you can recharge the screen, right? Talking to some friends of mine that just do commercial music, and they're just like, I love the fact that you're able to do this, but the reason I'm able to do this is because of the audience. Thank you. Because I love doing shit like this. It's awesome. And, you know, there's the sound of, it's Magnet, the sound of puzzle musically, to me it's important because it was my life. That was what I heard in my head for a full year. But it's not music. It's just fucking chaos. Like, but that's what it was. That's what it was. And it's 50 people talking at the same time. And that's why it was important to me. So doing light work next is great because there's songs. I've spent so much time with light work making the songs like really great songs. Like what a like that's there. It needs to be a little shorter. This needs to be a little clearer. Like that chorus needs to be bigger. We got to have a better melody there. Like really thinking about songs. And so between the two, between the puzzle and light work, it's like again, you know, that whole duality thing that I've been doing for years. It's that again. But I'm so proud of this, and I'm so proud of everybody that's involved with it, and I'm so proud of like Jasper at the management company for putting it all together. It's like really, it's just such an incredible thing. We only made 1,000 of them. I think there's another 150 left even, but it's like if you go to Devin Townsend's shop, they're there, right? But there's only a few, and after they're done, that's it, right? So it's like it was like a really, really cool thing. I love doing it, right? So anyway, that was the 10 minutes. 15 minutes that I promised you I would ramble. So next, let's see where we're at. Questions. Someone says, thanks for dressing up for us, Deb. Yeah, man. Isn't it funny that after 2020, 21, 22, dressing up means putting on a hat? Hey, Deb, any cool sights you've seen in nature, like cool animals or such? Yeah, I'm in Canada, in Vancouver, and up north is where, I spent a lot of my formative years, and there's like a lot of logging and fishing and things like that. And I think for me, the thing is, it's the combination of events. So it's not just the animals and not just the trees, but it's like when everything is like, so it's misty in the right way, and there's an animal that shows up, and it's like, someone says, thank you. We like being able to help you do this stuff. Thank you. But it's a combo of that. I think, what's the plural of moose? Meese? Yeah. I saw a murder of meese. So there we go. Someone says, what type of trackball? I've been using this type of mouse. They have it in, it's about $100. You have it in either wired or wireless. It's a Kensington trackball. I've been using this for probably 20 years. Like, I've gone through 3 of them. And this one's still hanging in there. I don't like the wireless one. It's slow. But the thing that makes this so good is you just hit it, and you just fucking haul ass, man. Like it is. And they've got this ring on the side here that you can scroll really quickly, right? So I highly recommend it. Let's see. I see you power through hard vocal parts that most wouldn't imagine. How do you think your voice has changed for you over time? Singing and screaming usually seems dangerous. You know what? I'm 50 years old now, right? So what have I got? If I'm lucky, I got like 30 years, right? So it's 20 less than I've been alive. So fuck it. We'll hit that note. That's kind of how I feel. And if I can't, then I can't. Some nights I can't. Some nights I can. But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. A lot of it's just force of will, right? And I don't necessarily recommend that as a technique, but if asked, which I am, that's what I would say. Hey, Deb, could you share some spiritual teachings you have studied? I get the impression you've studied them from some of your music. Well, I haven't studied spiritual teachings, no. What's the best way for me to even approach this topic? Because it's another one that's just so divisive. I'm in awe of shit. And I like to read things of other people that were in awe of shit. I dislike it when people claim they have some greater understanding of that shit. Whether or not they do, I don't know. It's not me to say, but I find that arrogant, I guess, on some level. But I read things about, I love spirituality. I love it. It just seems like, and it's not because I feel like my whole, it's even hard to put it out. When I look around and I think about the nature of reality, I'm like, oh, it's incredible. And spirituality sometimes addresses that or talks about it in ways that I'm like, oh, I relate to that. That's really cool. Like, I had done a podcast a while back where I was talking about psychedelics when I was a kid, but it's really important for me to point out, like, it's been years since I touched that shit. Like, for me, that was like a moment. There was two moments, and one of them was horrible, where had I not had a support network, I wouldn't have come back from it. But what I like, the humility that came from that experience sort of put me on a pathway, I guess, of trying to reconcile the experiences and my own hubris in ways that ultimately led me to meditation. And I don't do it because of some dogma or some spiritual agenda. I do it because I think it's awesome. I hope that's a reason enough, because that's what it is. People say, oh, do you have anything to say about it or to teach about it? I'm like, I'm not qualified for that shit. I just know what I know, and I know that I think things are beyond me. I think they're awesome. And meditation, as opposed to drugs, seems to be a way to find some degree of balance that, specifically in today's environment, we can't control any of these happenings, right? We can't control anything that's going on the world stage. But we can be coerced into being terrified all the time. And I don't think that is the place where I want my work to come from, a place of fear. I want it to come from a place of strength, but also calm, and the awe and the overwhelming nature. When I was younger, if I was smoking dope or taking mushrooms or something, it was so distracting for me that I got lost in that. I was so distracted by the experience that I didn't feel like I could sing about it or speak about it in a way that didn't seem like either frightened or arrogant, right? But through trying to keep myself balanced on some level. And I'll say it again, there's no agenda. It's not like it's not like I'm great at meditating. I'm just saying that from that, whenever I write something that's really heavy, and not like brutal strapping heavy, because sometimes I'll write something like "Hear Me Now" or whatever, but it's not as much part of my DNA anymore. But there's a song on Lightwork called Lightworker that's super fucking heavy. Like, it's super heavy. But if I'm not in a balanced frame of mind, whether or not it's too much work or too much chaos or money things or personal things or whatever, health, whatever, when I start working on it, it's overwhelming for me. And then I feel like little things happen, like I'll rush the beat or the vocals sound stressed. And the way that heavy things really project that level of intensity, it's like a glacier. It's got to be like slow behind the beat. It's got to be like calm. Because if you are wielding something that's super heavy and you're afraid of it, it's going to be frenetic. But if you're just like, oh, I don't fear this, it's beautiful. It's like it requires balance and a certain degree of introspection, right? It's funny because 19-year-old Dev sticking shit up his ass with Steve Vai would look at me as, almost as pretentious as this sounds to me right now. But it's the truth to me. That's where I'm at. So when it comes to spiritual stuff, I'm no expert. I hate dogma. And I think things are incredibly awesome. And the work that I do is primarily to honor that, I guess. All right, so next question. Yo, Dev, how's it hanging? If I had said little to the left, I would be in grade 8 again. So, little to the left. The Noontime Jammies Club. Who's in it? Anybody else in the Noontime Jammies Club? It's an exclusive club. Let's see. Hello, Dev. A lot of love from Russia. Hope that one day I will see your live shows. Thanks for the inspiration. Thank you. Hey, Dev. Matt Picone mentioned you, and Garth shot a fantastic IR for the Fractal. You and Garth mentioned on a stream you would release it. Any chance Matt could get the okay to share that IR over the Fractal forums? Yeah, you know what? I love Matt. And his daughter, Echo sang on Puzzle. So this, okay, I know, I'm almost done. That's the thing about Puzzle. It's like all these people on it, like the lady speaking Spanish at the end. It was like my friend's mom from years ago, right? Like that's what it was. And Echo is Matt Picone's daughter, who sings on Kittenhead. I haven't talked to Matt since the new year, but me and Matt get along really well. So I would love to be able just to give that to you. Absolutely. So let me talk to him about that. It might take a little while because I got, my next week is spent thinking about something else. I always wondered, where do you go mentally before the scream at the end of Thing Beyond Things? I think the internal dialogue is very much like, oh shit, here it comes. Fuck it, I've been going to work in jammies for 18 months now. If you can do it, you can do it. I don't even wear undies. Fuck the world. I gotta wear undies because things get tacky pretty quick. All right. Any news about the postponed concert in Oslo? I don't know yet. I think that any impression that the audience gets of either normalcy or structure on the side of the touring industry is totally accidental because everybody's completely blown apart right now. I was talking to the people that I'm using for this tour of mine coming up, and they're just like, I forget how to do this. I don't know how to book this. I keep fucking up. I keep missing all these things. Like we have to get insurance. We have to get all this new sort of medical thing. We've got to have backups of people, and everybody is kind of. And so when we're asked, not me necessarily, because I have what I affectionately refer to as honesty Tourette's, but it's like most people are like, how's everything? They're like, everything's great. The touring industry is up and ready to go. We'll be there with some specials, and it's so full of shit. Everybody's panicking. It's delightful. So when it comes to rescheduling shows, I'll have emails in my inbox that contradict themselves like 3 times a day. Scheduled show in Oslo. Can we do a meet and greet? Update, we can't do meet and greets. Update, we can't get the tech for that one because he's out now with Iron Maiden. Update, Iron Maiden canceled. We can get the tech back. Update, that show got moved 3 months ahead. All on the same day. So for me, I keep, I'm like, I'll get myself ready. I'll get a band ready. I'll get several bands ready. When it's time to go, give me the flight and I'll be there. Like, that's it. But in terms of the rest of it, I'd be lying to you if I said that there was any sort of, structure to it right now. There really isn't. May I suggest Tiny Terrors for Royal Albert Hall? You may. Thank you. More guitar improv coming? Yes. So, yeah, I got sidetracked by Puzzle. I certainly did. So I've been writing one, but it's so hippie, man. Like light work is pretty it's pretty heavy. Moth is really dark, really fucked up. But I've been writing something else that's like super dream piece, right? Like super guitar improv number 4. But I haven't had a chance just to move the files from my improv onto my Pro Tools yet because I've been trying to get 50 songs to the musicians and mix light work. But long answer, yes, there's another one coming. There's several coming. I love doing that stuff. Let's see. Did you write those additional songs for Lightwork, as you mentioned in the previous Twitch stream? That's a hard word to say. I almost do an Elmer Fudd there. As you mentioned in the previous Twitch stream. I wrote a bunch more songs, yes, but none of them were spectacular in the ways that I was really wanting to conclude the record. However, I wrote so many songs for Lightwork that when I stepped away from it for a couple months and then I started working on it again, opening up the sessions, I realized that the original idea for the record is actually exactly right. But the mix that I had done was so bleak and so absent mentally that the songs not only didn't translate, but just didn't work. So now that I'm able to listen to them again, I really feel like, so I've got 14 songs that I'm mixing. There's another 8 for the bonus work, night work. And then once I get those 14 songs, I'm going to choose the best 9 and then put the rest of them on night work. So it's another 2-record thing, right? But I just want light work to be really like a strong, like to the point record. But I don't want it just to be 9 songs. So it's like, dude, I made tons of songs, so that'll be out as well. But I'm going to make light work a little more concise, I think. And I think it's really, it's pretty epic, man. All right. Any specific drummers in mind for that U.S. tour? Well, so here's a couple things going on, and I think I had mentioned this to you over the last couple of streams. And if I haven't, now's the time. So I keep being told because of restrictions, health restrictions, COVID restrictions, political restrictions, whatever, I can't tour certain places, right? Fair enough. But what I thought would be great is if I know so many musicians around the world. A lot of them aren't working right now. That maybe I have like an American band, Australian band, European band, British band, Indian band, Asian band, and then crew as well. So that way, the only person that has to sort of deal with the quarantining, if it's still a thing, or the visa stuff, which is like it's gotten super weird. Like I'm sure you would know, right? But it's gotten super weird. But if it's just one person that has to deal with it, then I could pull that off, right? And then I can still tour, right? So I'm looking into a lot of options, right? And there's some great players, amazing players, right? Right. All right. Scanning the questions. Hiya, hope you're having a great day. I am. Someone says, yoo-hoo, hello. And I respond in kind with a yoo-hoo hello to you. Let's see. Hey, Dev, was finishing up a physical therapy session when you got on. Got weird looks from the docs, but good to see and hear you here. Hey, tell the doc, yoo-hoo. I wear jammies in other people's houses and on the tube. I just don't care anymore. So somebody says, jingles for Nike. Yeah, right. I wonder what it would be. Shoes! Super shoey, gonna say shoe to the shoes that I'm wearing, make them go away and get new shoes from Nike. The shiny parts are lit, someone says. Yes, goodies. Let's see. I love my box set so much, but I ordered it from Music Glue and it came very damaged. I got taken care of though. Great. Yes, we're working on it. And I mean, it's funny because these box set look so like pro. I think a lot of times people assume that it's more than just like one guy putting it together, one guy doing all the writing and mixing, 2 guys in a warehouse, and then a postal service that just doesn't give a shit. And then we had some problems with it was being packaged up in a really stupid way. And so I got on with the people who were responsible for that, and I insisted that they fix that. And so if it hasn't been fixed for you, then let me know on Twitter and I'll figure something out, because they're super, I mean, I'm really proud of it, right? Like, ain't going to win any musical awards necessarily. That being said, though, stuck in my head for a year. All right. Let's see where we're at here. I've listened to the puzzle at least once a day since it came out, and I'm still hearing new things. Same. There's a lot going on there. Didn't you say that during the process of building it up that people's contributions didn't fit musically? If we're talking about the puzzle, no, I used everything. That's why a lot of the parts sound like I had a couple buddies that were like, man, I did this really crazy guitar solo. And then when I listened to the record, it wasn't on there. And I was like, yeah, well, another buddy of mine, there was a lady that I know who's a really talented musician, and she recorded herself in this one song just playing chords that were like out of tune. And I was like, well, that's what she thought was supposed to be there. So in the middle of his solo, it goes to this guitar that's out of tune. And I love it because I'm like, oh, yeah, that's her. Yeah, that's my friend. And that was my other friend. So when I listen to it, it's like, that's my friend. That's what these people I know, right? Like, and so people might listen to it and say, God, why would you put that there? And I'm like, because she's my buddy. And that's what she thought went there. So that's what went there. That's it. It's part of the puzzle, man. All right. Moving on, moving on. Let's see. Oh, there's lots of questions, but I'm going to move past the puzzle stuff because that must have been when I was showing the box set here. Give me a second. Let's see what I'm going here. I'll give a couple more questions because we're at 55 minutes and I've got to get back to work. I Dev, although it's hippie shit, it's heartwarming you adapted the way that you did during this shit show by really getting out what you needed to get for you and for us, and that you used other people and things to fit into your puzzle. Thank you. Well, see, that's why it was so important for me. I think time will tell with that thing. I think although people are just like, it's fucking stupid, this bunch of bullshit. You know, when Puzzle came out, people were not into it, right? But I think time will tell. I think people will hear eventually Life is But a Dream, and people are like, holy fuck, man, that's an orchestra on there. All right, greetings from Victoria, BC. Yes. Did you enjoy the 1/4 inch of snow we got yesterday? Yes, I think we got 1/8 of an inch. Hey, Dev, is a backing track to your podcast available? That's just another one of the guitar improvs I did. No, it isn't. But the next guitar improv album that I'm doing is like that, but better. So if you want that one, I can put it out for sure. But I think on its own, it's not as interesting as with some gobbledygook on top. Devin Townsend tour of India with Anushka Shankar coming up. That'd be great. Yeah, again, her and Enya just don't return my calls. It's crazy, you know? Anyway. Someone says, I feel oddly compelled to buy shoes right now. See? It's the subversive advertising that drives it home. Yes. Gene Hoagland says he hates the SYL self-titled album because he doesn't think his playing was up to par. What do you think? SYL as an album was my least favorite SYL record as well. But it's Gene fucking Hoagland, man. Like, although we took totally different paths on a personal level several years back. I love Gene with every ounce of my fiber, and he's one of the greatest drummers ever. Like, if he thinks that's not up to par for him, I mean, that just shows, what the rest of the drummers need to aspire to. Someone says, Alien is my favorite album of all times. After listening to the podcast for it, it seemed like a bad album for you. What are your thoughts about it now? I love it. I love Alien. But it was a bad time. See, this is the thing that I think sometimes gets lost in translation is the way that I write is I try to interpret where I'm at. So this, is a pandemic. It was fucked. So what is it? It's fucked. That's what it is. It's not, I don't set out to say like, I'm really going to try and confuse the audience and make something super chaotic. And in the middle of a cool solo, put an out-of-tune guitar because that's trying to be provocative. No, that was my reality. That's what I heard. So I did it. Fuck yeah. Same with Alien. But Alien was a horrible time for me. It was a fucking horrible time for me, psychologically. So what came out of it? Alien. What's funny is it's like the process of actualizing this stuff teaches you something for the next time. So I went through experiences later that were from the things I didn't learn during the Alien time, but it came back again, right? Like that's what tends to happen. And I went through another fucking horrible time during Sky Blue. But the things that I did learn during Sky Blue was like, even if your life is going in a direction that is seemingly out of control, it's up to me to learn how to balance that, because it's nobody else's fault if I fucking go bananas. You know what I mean? No one benefits from that. So that strength that I had to learn as a result of these bad times have allowed me to just continually articulate, in my opinion, my reality as each period of time presents musical information to my creative mind. So Alien was a horrible time, but do I love the record? Yeah. I don't think the mix is great. Don't think the mastering is great. But yeah, I mean, I remember when halfway through writing Skeksis, I was like, that's fucking awesome. This song's wicked. Shitstorm, too. I remember singing that line, I can't even fucking piss. And it was, that's because I couldn't pee. It's funny. People are like, oh, what did you mean by that? I was like, I mean, I can't pee in public. And so at that moment, while I was writing Shitstorm, I had to pee, and I couldn't pee. So I was like, what's the next line? I can't even fucking piss. Right? Like, that's how it works, right? All right. Let's see what else we got here. Switzerland and other countries have totally lifted pandemic measures. Will you be touring again in there soon? I'm wherever they tell me to go. That's where I'm at this point. You know, Canada's a bit of a shit show, but wherever they tell me to go, I'm ready to go. So I hope so, is it? Shoot, did I miss my question? Had a phone call. I'm going to say you didn't. And I answered it at some point. Right. When can we expect the next podcast, please? I've been trying to do it this week, but I had to get my USB hub wired up, right? And I had to drill this in, and I had to clean this over there, organize this, made my little box of pencils. See, check it out. See, I got all that organized there, so that when I start, like my right hand, I can do my automation here. I can do my Ableton stuff here. The minimal amount of gear works best for me. But now that it's done, I want to do another podcast. Because the last one I did was with Matt about the NFT thing. And holy shit, man. You would think I had said, hey, women shouldn't vote or something, with the amount of vitriol that was like aimed at that topic. It's crazy. Like the whole NFT thing. And there's a part of me that feels bad for not caring enough. Not about the issues, but I don't care enough about NFTs. I don't care enough about that stuff to like fight for it. I just don't. It's like not a big deal to me. There's a bunch of shit about it I thought was horrible, and I just don't want anything to do with it. There's a couple of things I thought were really cool, where you could like have some sort of virtual world. I could create like a Ziltoid land that, you know, I thought that was fucking great. But if you have people that hate it so much, then nah. Know what I mean? And it's not a passionate nah on my side either. I'm just like, oh shit, people that allow me to make this hate NFTs, so fuck them. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. And so the last podcast I did was that one, and I have had to get my shit together in other ways first. And so I'm planning on doing the next one. I think the next one I'm going to do is going to be for Buy a Thread, because I did those four shows in London. Seems like a lifetime ago, and it was. So I'll do that one next, that 4-album, 4-DVD series, because there's a lot that went on, like just having all those 4 records represented. Yeah, I'll do that one next. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Sigh. Twitch is screwing up still. Anyway, I forgot about the Infinity stream, but I watched it on YouTube somewhere. Is there a good way to pay you for it now? I just dump biddies here and there in Twitch, but took a cut. No, don't pay for anything. Like, for real. If one day I get to the point where I'm like really needing money, like, hey guys, I'm like hating it here. At that time, I'll ask. But in the meantime, yeah, take whatever you want. I don't care, as long as you hear it. You know what I mean? And currently, I'm paying my bills, so we're okay. So don't worry about it. But thank you, though. That was very nice. And thank you, Karen Sky. That's nice. I mean, money sucks, man. It's just such a pain in the ass. But I also hate everything having to be monetized. Like, I hate it. That was one of the things I didn't like about the whole NFT thing either. It just seems like everything is like gotta have. So so the puzzle movie, we got it accepted on Amazon Prime. So when people are watching Amazon, it'll be up on Amazon Prime. And I was like, oh, that's great. But then when I got the thing, it's like, yeah, but you have to pay for it. Like, people have to pay $5 for it. And I'm like, I don't want people to pay $5 for it. I just want people to see it. Like, who the fuck's going to pay $5 for it other than people who have already seen it? It's like stupid. Like, I want people who haven't seen it to see it. And, you know, but if everybody is so, I'm not saying everybody because it's no one's at fault here, but society in general, if everybody's so intent on monetizing fucking everything, then at the end of it, it's like you don't stumble across things, right? But conversely, and again, here's another topic that I wish I was more passionate about, but I don't fucking care. It's just, it seems so dramatic and it's so full of stupid people that, you know, like the whole streaming thing, Spotify, and a smug looking motherfucker, right? It's like, there's a part of me that's just like, well, I don't know enough about it to comment, for one, but I do know that it's like, he's getting paid for it? That seems super weird. Like, as opposed to like cephalic carnage or me, or no, I don't care really, but you know what I mean? It's like, so the disparity between right and wrong bothers me when it comes to that, but I don't care that it's like a streaming service. In fact, it actually bums me out that my shit's not on there. I can't get everything set up because I've got Strapping, Devin Townsend Project, Devin Townsend, Casualties of Cool. It's all like set up so that they're in separate places, and some territories have Terria and some have none. You know what I mean? And so I'm looking into it like, well, how do I solve this? How do we get it so it's all up everywhere? Because if it's going to be up, put it all up. But I've been told probably 10 times why, too. And I think it has something to do with the fact that, like, I used to sell the CDs out of my house. And so, like, there's, like, a part of the I don't know. And again, I wish I cared enough to really figure it out. But I want to make music. That's what I want to do, right? Like, and I want people to hear it. And when I've been in need, the audience has helped me. I've been struggling with like the whole thing with Patreon, for example. Like, they're, you know, oh, if you do Patreon, you can have like a monthly income and it's all good. But it also seems like there's like an obligation to that is also in opposition to the way that I function. That if, for the sake of just getting like a constant monthly income, I'm having to provide content when I don't want to, and not because I'm being petulant about it, but just because when I feel like writing, I write. When I don't, like, I clean the toilet. It's like, maybe that's not the first thing that I do. Should be, though. I think it's a gong show. But it's like, the point is, if you end up forcing creativity, it always, in my experience, comes out weird. So it's a fine line, but I feel that eventually it works out. Pendulum swings, then swings back. So I appreciate the support, and I really appreciate you being generous enough to offer something for watching Infinity Stream on YouTube. But fuck it, man. Just watch it. Go. Show somebody else if you think they care. Tell them that I was tired. That's why I look like that. A couple more questions and I got to bugger off. Let's see. From the first SYL album, there was always a sense of humor mixed in with brutally heavy music. Do you think metal takes itself too seriously? I don't know if I'm one to say. I can't speak for other people. I just loved Monty Python. Like, I think that was it for me. You know? So it was never about any point that I've made creatively in my career. Retroactively, someone's like, wow, that was a insightful point that you made. I'm thinking, I wasn't making that point. That is sheerly coincidence. So if from a distance it appears that the humor aspects of SYL were some sort of like subversive satire, no, I just was like being an idiot, right? Like, so, but that's what I thought was appropriate. And in the same way as I don't want to say, oh, during a pandemic, I ended up writing something that wasn't puzzle. I hope you enjoy it. I'd much rather say, during a pandemic, I wrote puzzle and it's fucked and we made a huge box set out of it. I hope you enjoy it. It's the same thing I would say about the humor aspects of what I do. I'm like, that's what I thought was appropriate. Does that make me emotionally immature? Probably. Does that make some of it age poorly? Probably. But was that what I thought was important at the time? Yep. So that's why I did it. There's no other reason. All right. One more question. Let's see what we got. Yes, there will be a new podcast episode soon. I'm going to try and get it done this weekend. Thank you for the patience. I really enjoyed the Infinity stream. Let's make this the last one here. I watched it on a giant screen in space. Damn. Elon. Using a VR set. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Would you consider making future streams VR compatible with the surrounding environment and all? I think that'd be really cool for Ziltoid. Absolutely. During Empath, I was making a VR world with a guy from Vancouver, Near Blue, his name is. And we got really far into it. But then I just got so overwhelmed with everything that I did. I couldn't focus, and I had to let it slide because it requires a lot of time. And I had to apologize to him on a couple of occasions because he's put so much effort into it. But I do plan, absolutely. I love the idea of having an immersive environment for people to go and do creative things in, right? Like, and if that's VR, that's awesome. And I hope that I can find the time to get back into that, for whether or not it's for light work or whether or not it's for the moth, right? Anyway, guys, gals, thems, I hope you're doing okay. And thank you for the support. I'm back to mixing now. They tried to get me to do TikTok, and I just put up a bunch of videos of me farting, which it was not a real fart. But I had people in my professional world that were like, why would you do that? And I was like, because I really find TikTok, every time I open up that app, I'm like, oh, I hate this. Every time, it's just people like, look at me, 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 look at me. Scroll it, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm like, yes, but it's, you know, you can really approach that demographic. And I'm like, yeah, that 15 to 17-year-old demographic that's super interested in bald 50-year-old prog metal musicians. That's a huge one. That's a good one, man. But I'm on there. If you, I'm on there. If you want to go to TikTok and watch me blow farts, I'm at Devin Townsend. Love you guys. Take it easy. Thanks for the support, and I'll be in touch with you soon about the podcast and about another Twitch stream. Wish me luck with the mix, and I'll see you on tour.